And there we go. All right. Tonight, obviously I mentioned it in the description, but we're going to be doing an X-23 sketch. I had a very full day at the Little Giant comic show. I had the program right here. I don't know what happened to it, but anyway. Oh, there it is. There's the program. Yeah, the Little Giant show was this past weekend, and it's an all comic show. This was the program. It's pretty simple. They have the map, they have where everybody's sitting, and there's me. Pretty neat. And I was next to Alex Cormack and Ryan Santos. I was right over here. Like Joe St. Pierre and Bagley and all them. David McElhiney. Al Milgram was over here. Sam De La Rosa, Jim Shooter. It was a good show, and I was busy the whole time. I had very little time. I ran over to my buddy Jimmy, who runs. He's been dealing comics forever. He was part of Bedrock Comics for a long time, and I picked up some nice beat-up $2 comics. Just grabbed a stack of readers. Love the old mystery magazines. There's a great Neil Adams cover. I think this has an Alex Nino story in it, if I remember correctly. Yeah, there it is, Alex Nino. Just beautiful stuff. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. I got some some Witching Hour, Latter-day Conans, Dagar, Gold Key. A She-Hulk I was missing to finish my reading pile, and then just some later Conans. Tough to find. Those later Conans. This was the one book I got signed at the show. David McElhiney. He wrote some Aquaman, and obviously I'm a huge Aquaman fan. It was a weird situation. There was a guy who had just piles of comics to get signed, and I can't see the comments. There we go. Oh, thank you, sir. Yeah, it was a $2 comics. I couldn't leave them there, and I was so busy. There were so many other great comics there. I wish I had time to just shop. There were treasury editions for like $5 at one booth. There was just all the issues that you could imagine. Like, it was all there. And yeah, I wish I had more time. And then the McElhiney deal was there was a guy who I guess drove from Jersey who was just getting stacks and stacks and stacks of all his Iron Man, all his Spider-Man, just getting everything signed. And I was in the back of the line, like, I just go stand in line like anybody else. And actually, it was the CBCS guy who recognized me and like waved me up, and I was like, no, 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 no. And I just felt so uncomfortable doing it. But I did actually have a line at my own table, which I know that sounds egotistical, but it was the truth. It was the one signature I was looking to get, and he pulled me out of line and brought me to the front, and I paid, for my signature and said hello and apologized to the other people in line. But the guy with the giant stacks apparently has been going in and out of line all day. So I didn't know the guy. He, was following the rules or whatever, but it was just definitely a slow line from that one gentleman. But here we have a sketch cover for Nick that we're going to be doing that I didn't have time to get to. I was so busy. Like, I thought the show went till 5, but it went till 4 or 4:30. 4:30. So I don't know if she's actually in this. Is she in this comic book? I read this run, the Stuart Immonen run. Beautiful artwork. Such a good artist. Such a strange time for comic book ads. Oh yeah, there she is. Yep. X-23. I wasn't planning on doing that suit, but maybe that's what he'd want. since it's in this comic book. What do you think? You think that they would want the suit in the comic or like the more Wolverine looking one? I think it would make more sense if it's the one in the comic book, but I guess that's the best shot of it. It's got like squares all over it. Oh, the Guardians were in this. Yeah, I remember. This was when I think later Kitty Pryde started dating Peter Quill. I actually brought other books to get signed, but I had no time to stand in line. We'll do the quick. I don't have the other pages that I've been working on, but I can show you guys this one. This is page 20. I'm working on inking. This is the inside of the anglerfish sub in stealth mode. So you're going to see lots of shadows. And then this is actually just going to be one color. This will probably be just that lightest purple, which is a mixture of 30% cyan and 30% magenta. And in this, setup to this is in the prior page, we had shown you that Jana War and Colonel Feathers are going off on their own adventure, and Colonel Feathers is asked, like, what did you do? Who did you put in our place or whatever? And, Colonel Feathers basically said, oh, he'll never know we're missing. And you look back and he replaces himself with a bucket with a poorly drawn face on it. And then Jan is replaced with a mop with a paper plate and tennis balls. And he even like looks back and it's like, oh, good job staying in silent mode. And then we get a close-up of the mop, a close-up of the correlator looking at it skeptically, and then a close-up of the bucket, and then him looking back into the viewfinder, satisfied that everything is normal. So that's page 20. I'll have that thing inked up probably in the next few days. Ugh. Just getting up in my my chair here, which is inordinately high off the ground. But yeah, that's the page I was working on. And I did a little idea sketch here of I was thinking of Marvel Comics Presents when Barry Windsor Smith was doing the Weapon X like out in the wilderness, because that would make it so there's some really easy shorthand iconography that you can pull from with those great trees and the snow and just the way that Barry drew that. It was just, to me, it's an indelible landscape that is associated with Weapon X. So like that was a way to try to pull things together. But I wanted some front to back motion. He just paid for a bust, but like, I don't know. I've just been having fun with these things lately and doing backgrounds. You guys probably saw the Deadpool piece that I did. And I was thinking about like if she's coming forward with her claws out, you would show like a tree that she had scraped, and then another one back here that she had done with her other hand, kind of like in the wilderness, how wild animals mark their territory by damaging, like bears damage trees. So I try to have some storytelling element involved and some background, and I don't know. I'm going to be doing the Fall River comic show next month. It's just a little one-dayer, but I guess it's getting bigger every year, so I'm excited to see what it looks like. The promoter was very nice. Invited myself. I'll be there with Craig Russo will be there. So there'll be some artists there hanging out, and I don't know, maybe I don't know any of the vendors. I'll have to check the website to see if any of my pals will be there. I do not have any plans for Free Comic Book Day as of yet. I might get to just go to Go to a store, pick up some comics, and buy some stuff. But I did get a call from NEC, so maybe I'll be at one of their stores. Who knows? Jonathan, if you want to be my plus one for that, you're welcome to it. Although you might have to carry a light box from the car. I have to go to a store as well because I still have to track down an issue of Conan that from Titan that my LCS did not pull for me. By bringing a light box. I'll always have my pad, my board here, but I rarely use it at shows anymore because I've basically gone back to just being okay with beating the crap out of the paper. That was something that I was always like. I always thought it meant I was an amateur, but I don't know. It's just part of my work. It always has been. Douglas, I saw that someone got a 9.2 of Arsenic Lullaby 1 with the black cover. Like, were those even 9.2 when they came out? I mean, I don't even know if mine would be like a 7, and it's been in a bag and a board since I read it. The week it came. Probably the week it came out, I read it and put it in a bag and board, and other than occasional rereads or flips, it's been taken care of. I mean, that's a for an indie book like that with a black cover. I mean, that's a high grade for that thing. I actually had someone tell me. Yeah, I mean, that's another part that I even didn't factor in was that was in a diamond shipment back in the day when, I worked at a store then, and they would regularly show up just absolutely like dropped from a high altitude with like dinged corners for like half the stack of new books that week. Hey Jason, how are you? Yeah, this is a character I honestly like. I read the early appearances of, and I've read a few like when she's kind of been like a side star of other series, but I never read her ongoing. It was like young girl Wolverine for me. And I honestly haven't been a big consumer of coming of age stories. I don't know. I have a hard time as an adult who has to like pay taxes and do things like that, and um, worry about whether or not someone gets the date to prom that they want or something. And Douglas says he didn't have the heart to ask him if see which printing it was. Jason Little Giant was phenomenal. Busy, all comics and artists. Um, nice people, made money. Like, what else can you ask for at a one-day show? Honestly, like a one-day show that's packed to the gills the whole time. I had no breaks. I was drawing the whole time. I had to like force myself to stop to try to get one book signed and buy those beat up $2 comics from literally a table that was diagonal from mine, from a friend of mine that I've known for years. It's a terrific show. I don't know. I don't know what the cost would be, like, if somebody like Doug had to fly in, but, I mean, any artist that would be within, like, driving range that has, professional work to sell, like, it's a great show. I understand those are 2 qualifiers that are not, like, a short order, um, have professional work and be not too far away, like, those are 2 the 2 qualifiers I generally say for, you know, most one-day type shows. I don't know any one-day show that you could fly to and, you're gonna make your flight back, but maybe you could at this one. Maybe if you had some big items when they got those art dealers in the building. Yes, a true comic book show, 1,000%, and it's just comics and artists and create other creators. Like there's some writers, obviously Michelini was there, and there were a couple of local authors as well. But like there were no TV people, no wrestlers, no vendors are allowed. There's no row of people doing tattoos. It's purely comics, and there are places for those things at all kinds of shows, but this just isn't that show. I mean, those are just different kinds of shows. I mean, and this was a great first show of the year for me, also, just because it being a comic show, it's not as hard of a sell. When I'm at one of those other shows, most of the people that are there aren't that I encounter. They're not necessarily there for comics, and sometimes it's the first show they've ever been to. So I have to be sort of in addition to teaching them about my work and selling myself, I have to kind of explain how comic conventions work. And sometimes that's a good thing because it's like, I will not be at C2E2. I am not doing a ton of shows this year. This year I am spending my year making comics, really. Like all those weekends that I spent doing shows last year, I'm really gonna just be head down making pages unless something, you know, someone's like, here's a table and a flight. Yeah. Next year I would like to do C2E2. Yes, I will probably apply for a table next year. I haven't done a Chicago show since 2006-ish, somewhere in there. So I haven't done a Chicago show since I actually, it's been since before I started working on the Tick, I think even. And I've been working on the Tick for yeah, I've been working on the Tick over 10 years, so. Yeah, next year I would like to be at both Heroes and C2E2. Those are the two that I would like to sign up for and do next con season with, finished Undersea Hero book and hopefully something else I've got under my hat, as they say. But Doug, you'll be at C2E2. I always hear good things, so I think you'll do just fine. Because they get a lot. It's comic again. It's a show geared towards comic book people, buyers, readers, etc. So the the point of entry is not as steep, or however that phrase should have been better said by me. Get the other tree that already has the marks on it. There. Oh, for some reason my computer was asking me if I wanted to update right now. I said, please not right now. Maybe like an hour or so from now, it would be okay. But not at this moment, computer. I'd rather it didn't do some weird update. This paper has almost like a vellum feel to it. It's not a smooth Bristol. Yeah, I don't know if I'm actually going to do any big shows this year, but we'll see. You never know. It's been known to happen that like a Boston will call me like the week of the show, and they'll be like, "Hey, so and so." They won't say it right, on the phone immediately. Of so and so canceled, and we need to fill a table, and we know you don't live far away. It has been known to happen. Sometimes the mood of the crowd is weird. That can have an effect, yeah, for sure. if there's a weird vibe going on in the building. That's not a bad drive. An hour drive for a big show like that, worth it. I actually drove further to do Little Giants. I drove a little over 2 hours, and I actually did get a night at the hotel on the Friday beforehand. So, and I covered all my expenses, and I made a little extra. So, hopefully, they weren't looking for Lady Wolverine in some sort of pinup-y type situation. You never know. I assume that Lady Wolverine, that you want her to be like causing some mayhem, being Weapon X-ish. Yeah, I think the last time I did the Chicago show, it was still a Wizard World. So however long ago that was when I last was in Chicago for a comic convention. Gotta have the flowy hair. I think that's gonna be important for this character. Spend some time layering the hair. Sometimes I think about just going more graphical with my stuff. I don't know. It's not any easier. I tend to like the finish when I have like a very graphical approach to certain things. I stretch this arm a little bit to hopefully get some motion. So we're going to show some little bits coming off the tree like that. I don't know. I wanted a cool background. I've been enjoying drawing the backgrounds on stuff again. That was actually my first job in comics. Was actually doing backgrounds for um, a store that published their own books, and they had an artist who would just turn in a whole book with one background on the first page, and would refuse to do any other backgrounds. So they hired me to draw backgrounds. That was my first job in comics. First paid gig. Drawing bar scenes and trying to match another artist's style. That was not an easy ask for an amateur like myself at that time. I was in high school. Um, and it was one of those where it was just cool to have your work published. much using a Zipatone type or computer equivalent have you been doing? Not much in the way of Zipatone on line art. I'm still using the classic coloring technique with the different screens. I just haven't had time to scan my old zips that I've collected because I've just been working on Undersea Hero. But that's another one of those back burner things. Because I did do a full zipped page for a horror story that I was working on, and it's kind of like the intro page and the outro page will be fully in zip and in black and white. And I was thinking about doing the rest of the pages in it in an ink wash, but I did that just to get the flavor of what I was going for. Um, I would love to use it more. I just don't have enough of it on me to just use it willy nilly. So I want to get it scanned, and then if I can find more, I'll buy more. But if I want to use more, it's gonna have to be on special stuff. Because the old stock I bought, especially that giant pad of it, that giant pile, or that I got from England. I mean, that stuff's from the '60s. It's that old. I haven't tried to use it because I don't know how well it's gonna stick. I did cut a piece off just to see if it was sticky at all, and it was. So I'm hoping that it will do what it's supposed to. She's supposed to be pretty young, so I'm trying to have her look athletic, but not too curvaceous. I don't know. I don't know the character that well, so I'm just kind of ballparking. Sometimes it's tougher to draw a character that doesn't have like a ton of muscle and still have it be sleek. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to get that happy middle area where she looks athletic, but she doesn't look, shredded. I always thought that Alan Davis had that sleek figure just nailed. Um, for men or women, where they weren't like super shredded, but they looked athletic, they looked strong, but they didn't look like too absolutely ridiculous, which you know years on the tick I tend to lean in that direction. um, and it's a crutch. It definitely is. If I can't get it right, I can exaggerate and hope that like it pulls or evokes something. Hey, Dennis. Yeah, X-23. It was actually from I and Dennis, it was absolutely lovely meeting you in person at the show. Yeah, this was actually a leftover that I owed someone because I ran out of time, and I almost always give them back, but I actually thought it would be okay doing this on the stream, so I thought I would be able to get it done, and then I have this, and I have actually one other comic book that I have to mail. One I gotta mail to Canada, so that's a little bit tougher, but this one's local. I might even be able to just deliver this sucker. Tricky, tough thing to draw. Armpits. Armpits, yeah. Tricky, tough. Deceptively simple, but not. Did I take Joe out to dinner? I offered, but I love Joe, but let me be honest here. A little inside baseball. Joe is the last guy to leave a show usually, and at this one, I couldn't be the last person out the door because I have family in the area, and we were meeting them for dinner too. So I offered to take Joe out at some other time if he wanted to come down my neighborhood or I go up to his neighborhood. Um, why are armpits hard to draw? Well, it's because of anytime you have a ball and socket joint, like like in that shoulder, you can do it one of two ways. Like it's where the skin stretches right there. Like, see, there's the shoulder. I'll grab like a pen so it's a little easier. And it's where the shoulder then connects to the pectoral muscle. And then you have to center where that socket joint is on that arm, like this. And then there's skin that stretches in between the pectoral muscle and I forget what this one's called in the back. And it stretches over the rib in the middle there. And it moves and stretches like if the arm comes up this way, it stretches in a certain shape, kind of like that. If the arm comes forward, like it is here a little bit, it's more like this. There's more like a little curvature there. Um, it's just one of those things that as the arm moves, it's tough to always gauge exactly where that stretched skin curves for me. And I'm a person who builds from my imagination. I don't use a ton of reference, so end up simplifying. And when you do the simplifying of those shapes, um, I have to make certain calls on my artwork at that point, and sometimes I get it right, and sometimes I don't. And sometimes I'll use the lighting to my advantage. I'll use the coloring. I'll use the whatever I need to do to make it seem more natural. But it's when that arm moves around, all those muscles move too, and then the skin stretches over it. So anytime you have the skin stretching over it, I personally find that tough. Dennis says he's been reading a ton of comics lately, and he just read Red Goblin #1. I only read the issues of Red Goblin that my buddy Campana worked on. Um, I didn't even know there was a Red Goblin. I knew nothing about it, but my buddy Chris worked on it, so I bought it and I read it, and I really didn't know what was going on for the most part, as far as the backstory. But as far as the adventure, one of them had venom in it. The story itself was fun. See, now that hand just looks terrible. Did you see that? Did you see me just box that in like a lazy artist? That's me judging myself. That Krusty the Clown. Yeah. If I had one of those wacky Morning Man radio boards, there would be a sad Krusty groan. It's a little better. Douglas says everything above the nipples and below the chin is a nightmare because there's so much anatomy affecting each other. Yeah, and like the way those ball and socket joints work, and then the stuff that is solid, and like some of the bones, like the bones don't bend, but they move, like the collarbone moves. This collarbone is actually out of alignment. It's actually coming up this way. Fighting this hand a little bit. That's all right. We'll figure it out before we gotta ink this sucker. And actually, she's got some fancy looking gloves on it that I'll make you a bet that when we draw those things on, it's gonna look more. It's gonna look better. I can always hear Krusty. Yes, the Krusty the Clown. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, this is a tree coming up in the background, and she's scraping it. Like like wild animals. They scrape in order to mark their territory, like that. There's going to be little chunks of it coming off of it there. Have I considered streaming on Whatnot? People have mentioned this, but I feel like it is beyond my capabilities. So it would also require me shipping more things if I in fact sold anything. And I just like doing this to do it. I really do. And I'm actually thinking about adding some different videos. Um, I'd like to do some where I'm flipping through comics and talking about them a little bit. My 100th episode is coming up, Doug. If you'd like to be on board, it would be a privilege to have you. I'm hoping to uh, get a few of my artist buddies to just hang out. I think Jay's going to pop on. I was talking to Alex Cormack about it at the show a little bit. I'm going to bug him. He was my neighbor. He's worked on like CSROs and a bunch of stuff for IDW. Um, we met a long time ago, and we were actually talking about this at the show. He was originally going to be an animator. He used to like bring his portfolio of animation to conventions. You don't have to draw a thing. You can just sit there and be surly if you'd like, or we can talk baseball. The Red Sox are terrible. Everyone should who hates Boston should be reveling in our misery. As our team is floundering, our pitching staff is already decimated by injury, um, and there is no hope in sight. So that's that's kind of the long and the short of it. Oh, that's cool, Dennis. You're going to do a comic show. Nice. Well, you guys love comics, so I'm sure the passion will show through, the knowledge will show through. So I love comic shows as long as as long as the people who are doing it are enthusiastic and do a small amount of research. That's my only thing. I once was watching a show where they got all the names wrong in the book they were talking about. So That was a that was a thing that happened. And then this one's already marked, so I wanted to show that she had been marking trees as her territory. I just like drawing trees too. Douglas spoke like a true baseball fan. Mid-April, game 30 out of 164. There is no hope. Well, if your whole pitching staff is hurt, and the guys who were supposed to look, the number one ability that nobody talks about with pitching is availability. And they used to have a lot of guys that would go out there and just take the ball every fifth day. And the two guys that were supposed to do it this year are hurt. Guys like Tim Wakefield, RIP, one of my favorite pitchers in Boston history, would pitch 200 innings. I mean, even guys like John Lackey threw 200 innings, just doesn't happen. Yeah, I actually played in college too. Yeah, I played in high school and in college. So little Division III school, but I did play some ball, and I played hockey growing up. So here's our X-23 reference. Now there's a new X-Men suit. See, there she's like. I'm gonna have to look up the Imminent suit. I think that's who drew this. Yeah. It doesn't seem like she has an iconic suit. That seems to maybe be one of the reasons I've just never. X-23. This is what? New X-Men. Skateboarding. See, I couldn't skateboard at all. So I did do roller hockey to train for hockey. So like that's what I would do we as a team would do in the fall and in the summertime. Oh, there we go. There's a shot of the suit that we're supposed to be drawing, and it's pretty complicated. It looks like an Eminem suit. She's got like these shoulder pads. They're not pads, they're just drawn on. It's like a drawn on design. Hey, Andrew. Chicago. Oh, Douglas. Basketball, baseball, and football. I didn't play football. My dad played football in college, but I never played football. My brother played for 1 year and he got hurt real bad and he didn't go back. He stuck with baseball too. Oh no, I see what you're saying, Douglas. Douglas says her iconic suit is a palimony suit because her dad left. Her dad's Wolverine. I can't even make this thing out. Maybe I should look up Eminem. Maybe I'll get a better result if I look up Stuart Eminem, X-23 by Eminem. Nope. There's like part of a suit, part of a suit. It's like weird angles where it's all parts of it, but I don't get a good shot of it. Well, we'll do our best. Oh, there's another angle it has. It's like part of a page. Okay, she's got like little stripy things down the side. That makes sense. She's got the X belt. Is she though? Isn't she a clone? Probably. She's probably. Are they all clones now? Isn't that the whole Krakoa thing? They're all clones. Okay. Now, see, the purpose of this suit is to define the shape without color. Like that's definitely the purpose of this suit. It's an interesting design, that's for sure. Weird gauntlet-y things. I don't know about that. Hey, thanks, Dennis. Thanks for popping in. I will catch you around. I try to think of those characters that, happened over the years that never had like an iconic suit, like or design, and they just kind of bounced in between designs. So I wonder if that's kind of what befell this character. Let me guess, she's got knee pads as well. Yes, of course. And the arm things like go all the way up to. She's got a thing on her shoulder. There's like a weird little panel there. And then there's a thing here on like part of her chest. That then cuts out this way and then cuts down like that. Weird. And of course, it's the same on both sides. Let's see what we can pull again from this angle. Okay, so this is connected to this. Got it. And then it comes up like that. And then it comes down like that. And then this comes like that. And then this thing at the bottom of her arm like that strangely connects like that. And then this actually comes up like that. All right. Okay. I think we can start to noodle this sucker in. And of course it's on top of the knee. On top. Why wouldn't it be on top of the knee? Okay. Douglas, if you look at our lineup at the moment, I think that you will not necessarily be like, oh, it's going to be okay. If you looked at the pitching staff, look at the pitching staff. But it's okay. I enjoy watching the minor league teams. Is actually more what I watch these days, or I'll consume more of it because I don't get Nesson, and that's what the Red Sox are on, and they make you pay an absurd amount to stream it, so I don't stream it. I did it for one season. I did the streaming thing, but it's like a crazy amount of money every month. Okay, so here we are with the weird little hip things. And then we're actually going to be blacking out chunks of this with this suit, which I'm okay with that. And see, Douglas, it's not just us. Like, he definitely designed the blackout sections for like the collarbone. Not saying he can't draw it. I'm just saying it makes it easier when you're doing a monthly book. Um, Blacked out the collarbone. And the armpit totally blacked it out. We shall see. We shall see what happens with the Bo Sox this year. And don't worry, I will not be one of those fans that's like, it's over. And then if they turn it around, like, we're going to win the World Series, I will not be that guy. And I will put it this way, if they win, I will not be like, look at us winning. You know what suit this reminds me of? That's what you call good character design, is what Douglas says. F draw on those webs. Blacked all that out. You pretty much just have to draw like a little bit of like an indication of where the ribs are, and then maybe the center line of like a stomach muscle, and that's really all you got to do on this thing. So this goes up like this. So that all gets blacked out. I just don't think, unless they make a move to get some pitching, or unless somebody they call up can eat innings, like, and they just have to be professional innings. I don't need, Pedro Martinez of 1998. I need someone who can take the ball, go through the lineup twice, and give up 4 or fewer runs. That's where I'm at. Hey, Desiree, you're welcome. Have a good night. Thanks for popping in. I think maybe she doesn't have gloves. I think maybe her hands are bare. I just can't tell. The coloring is so wonky on that. There we go. We can see her gloves on that picture. There we go. You might be able to hear Bruce yelling from, he's the new cat. She's got the brown gloves. Okay, so the gloves from this angle are different than the gloves that I just drew. So we're going to have to noodle back into this thing. And there is some black there. And it's at the elbow that there is. Goes like this. That's where that is. So that's where those lines go. Okay. I definitely think that at different points during the series, like, they made some fine-tuning adjustments to the design. Hey, thanks, Michael. Have a good night. It's 9 o'clock, so we'll keep noodling away for another 20 minutes or so. Hey, that's all right. One of the lurkers. Well, we regularly have lots of people who just watch silently or have it on in the background. I don't know if I'm putting people to sleep or whatever that is called when they listen to like Bob Ross or whatever, and it puts them to sleep. I'm not sure if my voice is quite at that octave needed for that, but maybe it is. I don't know. But yeah, we regularly have, between 20 and 30 people just hovering out there. Narcolepsy. um, I forget what it's called, where they listen to, people making like soft talking, things like that. ASMR. That's what it is. Yeah. I can speak softer if that would help. I make little lines. Goes back. We're gonna work on some tree textures right here. Be mindful of our light source. We're gonna think about our light source. It's gonna be right. It's gonna be back here. It's gonna be a soft light source. And we'll have some plants, some happy little plants right here at the bottom. Maybe that's my future. That's how I'll get my channel monetized. I can just talk real slow and quiet, and people want to hear about drawing. Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get to start inking this tonight. I wish we would. I do much better on these types of drawings if I can do them in one straight through sitting. Like honestly, to me, that's just the best way for me to get that complete thought put in and out before I start overthinking it. I don't know if you ever have that, Doug, where you just if you can just get the drawing all out, you don't have to think about it, and you don't necessarily have that like, oh God, maybe I need to redraw this set in that I do. I get that. Even on a sketch cover where it's like nobody cares, it's a sketch cover. Well, the one guy cares, Nick. He'll care. He'll care if it's terrible, but I don't know. Yeah, Douglas says he either gets it in one day or it takes a week. I hate that feeling because of just being stuck on it. Because so often one of those first earlier ideas that I have would have turned out better if I had just pulled it out and finished the drawing and gotten it out of my head. And did it in one sitting. And I know that that's a weird thing because it's like, oh, take your time, blah blah blah. Maybe we'll start. Maybe if we can get part of the figure inked, I'll feel pretty good about it. So we got our extra small or small. A full figure on a cover, I got to use these little tiny noodly pens. Of course, with my Helena comic, I have some experience drawing angry ladies, or at least one angry lady. Douglas says he can't think of a single time where he didn't end up going back and using the first attempt. That looks good is better than is correct. I generally agree. Believability over realism, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how far we get. Who knows? If we get close enough, I might stick around. One thing I have come to accept more and more, also, and it's actually one of the things that has given me some greater confidence, is just that my ability to clean things up a little bit, like go back in with a whiteout pen or whatever, and kind of rework things. I've been more confident in that skill lately, and that has been a positive for me. There's Bruce yelling again. We'll work on the hair. Just spend a little time on the hair. Let's get our brush pen. Where's our brush pen? There we go. This is our Kuretake brush pen. It's got Dr. Martin's Black Star matte in it. Here's some minutia for you. If you get in real close, you can see where I have started feathering that hair. And this line right here is with the Kuretake Pocket Brush Marker pen, and then this is with the Sable brush pen here. And there actually is a difference between the two. So I've definitely been more patient with drawing because I'm drawing so few of someone else's characters lately. Like I hadn't drawn like a Marvel characters before that Gambit piece I did in quite some time. I don't draw them in my sketchbook. I don't draw them for fun. I spend my time developing my own stuff. So like I'm drawing my own characters or my own designs like predominantly now. And so when I dive back into one of these, it's not as nerve-wracking, I guess, for me. Yes, that is Bruce yelling at the door of my studio area. Now, this technique is actually more akin to painting than it is to drawing, I would say, because it's one of the areas where you're actually using form instead of line to fill stuff in. You're using that brush to go back and forth. A guy like Don Heck was a master at this. You looked at the way he drew the Black Widow's hair. Obviously, John Romita. But he had a more graphical approach to hair, even if you look at the way he drew Gwen's hair. So, there we go. Yo, says Halo Genie over on Twitch, which I don't use very often. Or I don't use it well because I don't watch a lot of stuff on there. Spend most of my time drawing, so. Or doing just stuff that pays the bills, like graphic design or whatever. But welcome aboard. very graphical designs on the suit. Ava says, "I think I look good." Well, that's nice. There we go. It's good to get the hand coming forward a little bit. I'll try to round this off a little bit so it's not quite as chunky of a hand. So not a character I think I've drawn more than a couple times in my life, unless somebody asked for it at a show. My friend Allison, she's a big fan of this character. There we go. And just keep moving right along. Hey, if somehow we got the main line art on the figure done, I think we would have achieved enough to get this thing done tomorrow. But we'll see. We don't have a ton of time left. Cramping my foot, of course. And I'm out of tea. That's a problem. Douglas says, I gotta bug you about a pineal problem. Making a car come to a stop. How? Um, I if I were trying to draw a car coming to a stop, it depends how. See, I think honestly, I might even have like the back wheels come up a little bit. If not, the little screech of the tires, the little cloud of dust. That I know that that's cliche, but I think if I were trying to think of the shorthand elements that would pull into that, that's kind of how the direction I would go. Not all that original, but sometimes the old tricks are the best ones. A calm stop. Okay. Could you use an element of the environment? Could you use like leaves stopping or still continuing after the car stops? Or is there something environmental that you could use? Um, I mean, you could always show the foot on the pedal, like in a small inset panel, like switching from the gas onto the brake pedal. That would be another way. I would consider doing it. No feet. Could he be putting it into park then? Like you could show the hand moving the gear. Hmm. This is a tough problem that you've presented with us here, but it's a fun one. That's a fun challenge right there. That's the kind of storytelling stuff when I see in a script I actually really like. Like it's a thing that there is no necessarily known answer for, and it's your job to come up with one. I actually love that kind of stuff. So rare. Could they be? How are they stopping? Is it them coming to a stop like with a brake, or are they running out of gas? Again, you could show the tank go to E, or you could could you show something else speeding past it, like a car continuing past it as it stops? Like I just don't know what the environment. I generally look to if I don't have an immediate obvious answer, I tend to look to the environment for my storytelling answer. Rather not show the interior. I'll keep thinking about it. Keep thinking about something environmental. Stopping on a bridge. Showing something continuing past them as they stop. Whether it was birds, you set them up in the previous panel behind the car, and then showing them continuing beyond them in the panel where they stop. Um, hmm, this is a fun thought. I'm enjoying this. Um, I think I made this character look a little too much like a little too old, I think. see through this one? Yeah, we can. See, I like to hold it up to the light so I can see. Some of that doesn't work as nice as I thought it would, but it's all right. Outside in some. Yeah, it's this thing right here. I just have to round that out a little bit. It sticks out a little too far. My bad. I've definitely done worse. I'll keep thinking about that one, Douglas. I'm not sure. I don't have I don't have an answer that I find satisfying yet. I would probably need to know the setup. That way I would know the options for the storytelling. Yeah. It's a fun question. This is a fun question, Doug. Let's get our brush pen again. Pull back on this. There. And we'll find out how we did with the silhouette. Pretty quick and short order here. As it sits now, going with shifting into park because it's clear that the showing mundane stuff always cracks me up. I mean, if you wanted to like take it a step further, you could do like I tend to do is even when you don't even need it, show them putting the parking brake on, like second entirely unnecessarily and mundane panel of putting the parking brake on. We're not going to finish this tonight, but I am going to finish filling in where the black is supposed to be on the costume. Yeah. Let's grab our extra small here. Start to pull out some of this pencil lines. Pull out these pencil lines. So there's no hiding behind the messiness, unfortunately. Erasing the pencil lines, revealing all of my shortcomings. Well, I'll take a look at it the other way. It looks all right. I've definitely done worse. So that's where we'll leave it for tonight. I'll finish the background and get this sucker done the next day or so, probably tomorrow. I think I should be able to get it done tomorrow. If not, it'll be Friday. But anyway, you can see where we're at. And thanks for hanging out with me tonight. So we're going to call it an evening. And we will see you. We'll see you next week. And everybody have a wonderful and happy weekend. Good night, everybody.